Welcome back to the Soulman Podcast. We got some cool guests today. We're going to get to in just a second. These are the conversations we would have had anyway, and we have really cool stickers. So thank you to Pastel Pencil. You guys both got cool stickers. Again, because I've told the story 100 times, Wade and I were of the vintage that if you had a sticker and you were doing something, you were legit.
And they were free stickers.
Yes. So
they were like $8 a sticker.
Thank you, Pastel Pencil, for the amazing high quality. Check her out on the gram. She's a young entrepreneur here in town. Get all of your stickers from her. We also want to thank Bolton & Mink Studios on the gram and Tony for doing all the stuff that he does back there.
Real people, real solutions.
Real big coffee cups. Yep. That's exactly right.
We're going to have a special Bolton & Mink episode in like a week or so. So we'll have a fun surprise guest from BM Studios.
And actually, we should say, this episode has been sponsored by Bolton & Mink Studios.
So thank you for the sponsorship, Bolton & Mink.
It only took 20-some episodes before they actually thought, these guys maybe are legit.
All right. Here we go.
So thank you, Bolton & Mink Studios, for sponsoring
They're looking
this
for
episode.
expenses.
Yeah, they make a lot of money. They need some write-offs.
They're like, we need some write-offs. Let's sponsor these knuckleheads.
What are we sponsoring? These guys just talk. I don't know.
I don't know what they do.
So anyway, thank you for that, Bolton & Mink. We have some cool guests today that I have not met, Wade have not met, but we're connected through Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge.
Yep.
So my role is in Adult and Teen Challenge is I help plan the gala event every year for the, the raising money and all that good stuff. Anyway, there's a better word for it, but I can't remember. So I talked to Julia at Adult and Teen Challenge. I'm like, hey, when I've gone to the gala before, I've seen some of the speakers and just telling their stories and just how engaging they are and just unbelievable some of the stuff that people have been through and have now overcome and gotten to the other side. And so for those that don't know, it's Minnesota Adult, and correct me if I'm wrong if I'm screwing this up, Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge is a long-term drug and alcohol rehabilitation with a faith component to it. Yeah. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have Zach here, and then we have, I'm going to say it wrong.
Rolando. Roll for short.
Yeah, okay, roll.
Roll's a lot easier. People don't know
that's
that.
true.
All right.
Roll.
Oh, I get so nervous trying to say people's names and remember them right off the bat, especially when the camera's rolling, because I'm going to say it wrong. So first, I want to say thank you very much for stopping by and taking the time. And I guess I don't know if we want to start with one or both of you, or tell us a little bit about where you guys are from and how you kind of got to where we're at here.
Yeah, sure. So we are stopping by from Minneapolis, right? And that's kind of where we're located. So Rolando, you came from the Minneapolis program.
Yep.
That's where you graduated from. I graduated from the Brainerd program, and both of us we didn't even cross paths really until we got into this position. And so for us, we're prevention advocates, and so primarily focusing on the youth. And so we like to go into schools and tell kids about drugs, basically. And
so where are you originally from?
Oh, sure. I was born in Alexandria, Minnesota.
Okay.
Yeah, and then ended up going to California. And as I kind of get into my story, probably hear a little bit more about that. And then I came back to Minnesota, and from there it's just been all over the place. But like Elbow Lake, Alexandria, Rochester, Duluth, Brainerd, and then now Minneapolis.
Wow.
So kind of all over the place.
Just kind of
cool. How about you?
For me, I'm from Minneapolis.
Okay.
When I was born, I was actually in Shakopee, Minnesota.
Yep.
Okay.
But it was rough. My mom was actually incarcerated in prison there.
Oh, sure.
So I had to go live with family members in Minneapolis. And from there, I bounced around from family members' house all over the Twin Cities. I spent a lot of time in Shakopee. I went to Prior Lake High School, all around the Twin Cities. And it's...
So there's a women's prison in Shakopee?
Yeah.
Right?
It's the only one in Minnesota.
Yeah.
That's an actual prison.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I thought.
Wow. So that was as you're a little boy that your mom is incarcerated? Or
Yeah,
how?
at the time of my birth.
Oh,
So I was physically literally born in a prison.
Yeah.
Off to life
Wow.
at
Same
good
as your
start.
mom
You know? I was,
You got a 7 and a 2.
Instead of a birth certificate, I had a mugshot picture.
So your mom was pregnant when she was incarcerated.
Yeah.
And then delivered at Southdale or Shakopee.
Yeah, St. Francis.
St. Francis. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So I guess tell me a little bit about what was your upbringing like? You bouncing around like that? That couldn't have been easy, especially with your mom being in prison at your birth.
Well, it was rough, I didn't really know what was going on until I started getting older, and I really didn't even start to be able to dissect everything until like the last few years, mentally and emotionally. But like, she was addicted to crack cocaine, and she's selling drugs, using drugs, and that led to her being in prison. So I had to go live with family members. And my mom is Mexican and German, and my father's African American, but I don't know him. So I went to live with my mom's side of the family, and like 90% of them were, using drugs, selling drugs, involved in some type of gang activity, and just unhealthy ways of living. So like I felt like a foreign exchange student at everyone's house I'd stay at, like, but someone that wasn't accepted or wanted. It was just like, we got to deal with this guy, cause till his mom gets out or whatever. And depending on who was stable long enough or who was sober long enough out of jail, I'd go live at this person's house or on this person's couch and go over here. And like, that's how it's been till like 15 or so. Wow. And being around unhealthy people, trying to adapt and learn from people that are unhealthy, and they did the best with the tools they were provided with, which weren't good. They're drugs, alcohol, abuse, physical violence, all that, and the negative core beliefs and no God or faith. Like it was. Yeah. But I grew, when you grow up when you grow up in that darkness, you don't realize how dark it is at the time until you get out, and then you look back, and it's like, oh, like. It's pretty dark in there,
Especially when it feels normal all around.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the normal, that dark.
So did you ever count all the schools that you went to?
About 12.
Yeah,
I've never went to one school for more than a year.
Yeah.
ALCs, middle schools. I just moved over constantly. Like always the new kid at home, at school. Like so, I just took on this loner, identity.
I know. Wow. Well, I'm from Waukegan, Illinois. I'm 40. Finally. And so how old are you?
I'm 22.
Okay, 22, and Rolando?
I'm 30. Okay,
so 30, 22. So we got a
34.
Good cross section here, right?
Yeah.
So you're from up in Alex, you're from like Minneapolis way, you're from the Chicagoland area. You're from the Red Wing area or rural
Born
Minnesota
in Red Wing.
area.
Grew up in Mankato.
Okay.
Yep.
Sure.
So you got a good cross section of age too. Then experiences. So where do you guys want to start? At the beginning or the end? Or should we talk about the envelope or the tube you got today?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so what's going on in my life now is, like, beyond my comprehension, I could say. Like, I don't even know what's going on most of the times, all the things and opportunities that are happening. Like, I can't, like, after all the years I've spent in prison, like, I spent 7.5 years in prison and jails altogether and, like, lived a life of crime and addiction, all that. And, like, right now, I just got a big tube in the mail from North Central that says congrats on it. Like, I don't know, like, I've been waiting to get into North Central University. Yeah. And I've been waiting for an acceptance letter. I'm hoping that's it or not like a cruel joke, But, like, so I'm anxious to get back and open it and see what it is. But, like, it's crazy that that's even an opportunity. Yeah. Like, a private Christian college can still, like, I'll get into my story, but, like, everything I've been through, like, it's like, what could be done in my life? Like, it's like, God went into my life, was like, what's the one thing I could do that nobody would believe or no one could explain or everything's possible? I'm going to do that and use the one person that no one would expect. And I'm like, I'm just stuck in the middle of it. Like, I didn't really have a choice. Just keep following, and it's, so it's crazy.
So go into your story a little bit. Because that, again, being on the outside, looking at the choir, which if any of you out there have never been to the Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge Gala and any one of them that they put on, one of the cool things is they have a bunch of the not students, what would you be?
Clients.
Clients, there you go. Clients. That are in the choir and they tell some stories, and that has been one of the more riveting things that I've experienced in that event. So tell us a little bit about your story and how you came to Adult and Teen Challenge and now kind of on the opposite end, hoping that the congrats is not a cruel joke.
It's not.
It's not.
Tubes are congrats.
Yep.
Small envelopes.
Tubes are effort.
Right.
So like I said, I moved around a lot. Yeah. Like a lot of my family, they consist like people using drugs, selling drugs, involved in crime, gang activity. Like I didn't know what normal was. So like I learned all these unhealthy behaviors. Like even at that age, I'd reach out and, as a 5-6-year-old, like you want to know like where your mom's at or where's your dad at? What, does she not love me enough to be in my life, or why did she go to prison? And my family would be like, oh, well, don't be a sissy. You better man up and life's hard and you'll get by. And I'm like, okay, well, I learned real quick it's a bad idea to reach out with my feelings or emotions because I'm criticized, ridiculed, and I'm looked down upon, and I'm
Judged.
invalidated, you know? So I won't do that. I'll deal with it on my own. And like, well, then it's like, puts me in this position, well, what does everyone else deal with their problems? Well, they're drinking, they're smoking, they're abusing whatever they can. And I didn't really do that at the time, you know, being a young child. But I bounced around a lot. I liked football. I wanted to play football. I wanted to play for the U of M. I always tell, like, when we go do presentations, like, I wanted to be big and strong with the rock and wrestle, but I wasn't trying to wear no tights or spandex. Like, that's a real thing, you know. That's what I want to do. He was like my idol. So I jumped into sports, basketball, football, baseball. Tried hockey, couldn't stop. Apparently, you need that skill. You know, I couldn't do it. With football, I got a lot of aggression out on the field. When I was on the football field, nothing else in life mattered. You know what I mean? All I seen was green and the person I was trying to hit. And like Zach says a lot too. Like he was in the same boat, but like I didn't want to learn the plays. I just wanted to hit people. I wanted to crash people in the field, get that aggression out, and I loved it. It was my reason for getting out of bed in the morning. But at the same
busy
time,
mind creates I guess a busy body creates a quiet mind.
Yeah, you know, and it was a bittersweet situation because it was the best thing in my life. But like, I would see other teammates and their family members like going out to the game, going out to eat afterwards, family cheering them on, and like when I score a touchdown or something, my family's like off like smoking crack somewhere or like drunk or just don't even know where I'm at or late to the game. So it's like, okay, well, it's just that was the part of the price for me. Well, because of my unhealthy way of living my family's life, I got pulled out of sports. I had to go to a different school. It's 2/3 of the way through the season, and I can't get back in it. So like the one thing I had in life that made me feel normal that I was holding on
Constantly
to.
starting over, and you're
You know. So and then that was just gone. So I went to school trying to find the next football, basically, whatever that looked like, without knowing what I was looking for. I'm a loner at this time, you know, and I'm socially awkward because I feel like everyone's gonna treat me and deal with me the way my family did. So I'd go to school and like hide out in like the back of the auditoriums, or you know, just find some place in school just to chill out till the day was over, and I'd go home and be like, oh, I had a good day. Well, in the process of doing that, I found other kids that were doing the same, and they're smoking weed, smoking cigarettes, and I'm like, I didn't really do any of that at this time. Like it was always around my family. Drugs were normalized. So kids offer me cigarettes and stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, well, if I say no, I call it the fear pressure, because I didn't like the word peer pressure. I still don't like the fear of like being rejected or being labeled, or you know. And I was like, okay, well, if I tell these guys no, they might go tell on me from where I'm hiding in the school, or if I say no, they might think I'm gonna go tell on them.
Right.
And I was like, all right, well, I'll give in. I'll smoke a cigarette. It can't be that bad, right? Started smoking, acting like I'm inhaling, not even doing it, but like, and I didn't like it at all. But in the process of that, I found that I gained acceptance. Now I have people that know my name. I have people that we have a secret together. We're bonding through this, and that's the closest thing I got to the same feeling I got in football. Like, yeah, I'm not hitting people, but like I belong to something now.
So it's just like a psychological mind trip.
Absolutely.
Because it's like this reinforcement of negative or bad behavior. But it also, in the process of doing that negative behavior, you feel good.
You
You feel like some sense of support.
and that's the only part I paid attention
It's
to.
like sense
you know?
of community while, doing, if it's, I mean, the mind's a crazy deal because you're looking for, we all want the same things. No matter what it is. Like
How
every
old-
human brain wants the same things, like to be loved, to feel safe, and so on.
How old were you at this point?
Probably about 11.
Okay.
About 11, and those are the things I wasn't getting. The reason I liked football so much is I was a part of a team. I was part of something people cared about if I showed up, if I was around, what I was doing, and I wasn't getting that at home. So I had to get it from football. I wasn't getting it at football. Well, I'll go find it somewhere else. And I found that it started so small, just smoking cigarettes, and then weed came along, and weed was normalized at my home life. At family, everyone was smoking. It was around, and I believed all the myths and stuff. Like, it's organic, it's from the earth, all these different things. And I like the smell of it, but like I'm weird. I like the smell of gas too, so I don't know.
All right, so quick survey. Do you like the smell of gas? Yes, I do.
Yeah, I mean, depending on like how long I have to.
No, I'm saying
Like not huffing, but
You're at the-
You just put you got a bucket of gas. You're sitting there. Wow.
I'm in the gas. Gary, where are you? I'm in the woods, man. You better not be huffing again, Gary. So, if you spill some at the gas station, or like somebody's out there pumping gas, it smells nice.
Yeah.
Kind of little tease.
very pungent.
Sorry. Yeah, my son's, my youngest son's 10. He's like, Dad, is it weird that I like the smell of gas? And I was like, no, I think it smells delicious.
Yeah.
And what about diesel?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
It's the good stuff.
Exactly.
It's potent. It's like the wax
I like the smell of that stuff
Yeah.
too. Sorry, I do. And vinegar. It's not, you're like,
Oh no,
Yeah,
you
vinegar.
lost me at vinegar.
there
Oh,
you
really?
see?
I
Yeah,
don't
like
think vinegar's too bad.
It's delicious.
Well, it's just like it's almost like so raunchy. It's just kind of like
Not around. Put the pickles in there.
yeah.
Nice. Onions. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I mean it's. So you go through and you. So where's the escalation happen for you? You like get to 7th grade, 8th grade, puberty, and all this weird stuff starts happening then for people. So where do you find yourself like turning a corner towards, because it's, at this point, aside from the upbringing piece, kids in junior high school are gonna smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
At least back in the day, smoking cigarettes or vape,
Now it's vapes.
Yeah.
whatever.
It vapes all over.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
same thing.
It
People,
smells like blueberry muffins.
right, everywhere. So everybody's like vaping or smoking cigarettes, or might smoke a little bit of ditch weed or something like that. So when does it turn where it's different? Like, when did you know it was different?
Well, the weed did something for me, but like I'll just elaborate on that a little bit. Like, so when I started smoking weed, it was just to fit in. You know what I mean? And on top of that, like my family used to pay me in weed to watch kids, to babysit, and like half pound, quarter pound of bud. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, let's sell it. Like, I don't know how. And they taught me. So I'm like, okay, well, wait, hold on. Wait. My family's teaching me something. They're acknowledging that I exist. They're taking time to be there for me. Like, I'll take advantage of this. Like, okay, I'll run with it. And on top of that, at school, now everybody wants to hang out with me. I'm selling weed. Now everyone wants to know what I'm doing, where I'm at. All of a sudden, like, I'm everyone's friend. Well, and then I start smoking. Didn't even really care for the high. But, okay, if that's the price I got to pay, okay, now I figured out I have to do something or have something for someone to care about me or do something for them. And I took on that core belief and I started smoking constantly, turned into a burnout. And I stopped going to school as much. So my family moved me out to the side. Bounced around from schools in Minneapolis and then went to the school in the suburbs. I was in Minneapolis at the time. Went to the suburbs, Prior Lake High School, and it was a culture shock. People didn't look like me, didn't talk like me.
Yeah, Prior Lake is a trip, dude.
Yeah,
Like I finished
especially like 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
I finished high school at Lakeville.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah,
wow,
so that's
okay.
super
Like-
similar.
Yeah.
Before there were 2 high schools, I was Lakeville North or whatever it is now. It was the same thing. It was like,
Like I get to school and they're like, "Well, that's the Hick parking lot."
Right,
I'm like,
exactly.
"Wait, what? Like, what is that? Like, I'm from Minneapolis. I don't even know."
I remember that. And people walking in, I was like,
They're like, "Don't park over there."
you
Like,
guys wear hats in school? Okay. All right, got that. And cowboy hats too, huh? It's freaking Carhartt and camo.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
As far as the eye could see. I swear to God, it was
Never
the
changed.
craziest thing, man. I'm like, what is this? But that like down on that part of, I don't know. It's just, it is.
so like the city meets the country. Like,
Right.
they
It's like,
clash.
it's like this mix. It's like this brackish mix of city and country.
And what year did you go? Prior Lake, you said?
Yep.
So how old are you when you went to Prior
about
Lake?
04, 05.
And you were how old?
14, 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and now I'm just burnt out and like that culture shock. No one looks like me, dresses like me, different music. So, and I'm suffering from an identity crisis, trying to be a chameleon to fit in wherever. Well, I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to go. I'll go be a loner. I'll do that. Like, I don't care if these people don't like me or not. Well,
Right.
that lasted for about 2 days. And I'm like, I need people. Like, it's just, everybody does.
Yeah, you
So
do.
I was like, the only tools I have, like, on top of, I was socially awkward. Now I'm a burnout on top of that. So it's like, I know, the only thing I know is how to relate to people through drugs. You know, so I went to go start selling everybody in the school weed. Like that's all I did in the cities. And now I'm just selling weed all the time. And I had friends overnight. Had a friend group, like instant, like partying, going all this and that. And I got exposed to the drugs they were doing. They were into deeper drugs than just weed. And within like 3 weeks, like I was doing acid, DMT, 2C, 2CB, mushrooms.
See, and I don't even know what
Puff
that
and
stuff
paint,
is.
like
don't know,
stuff
yeah.
I didn't even know the correct like molecular form, but like, oh, it gets you high. Like, okay, I'll try it. Like, you know,
See, and I'm
Changes.
Yeah.
Changes you.
See, and I'm so old, I don't even know what that is.
No, I don't either.
It's like, I was doing ABC, 1, 2, 3, XYZ. I'm like, I don't even, what is that?
I don't know.
You know, I was doing DMX. Or, what? You know, I was like, what is that? What are you talking about?
I know.
Seriously.
Yeah.
That's
it's-
crazy to me.
It's
And
wild.
so think about that. So this is nuts. You have to go from being in the city, you know, selling weed, and then to actually do more hardcore drugs, you have to go to Prior Lake.
Yeah, it was super backwards. Like that's why even my family was like,
Crazy, huh?
we're gonna send you out there so you have a better chance and you'll get better.
You have
like,
a better chance with better drugs.
yeah, you know
right.
what I mean? And then me selling weed, crossing that gap, it's like, okay, well, everyone out here is paying all these crazy prices. And I can go to my family or wherever and people I know and make that trip. And I took on that role and identity. It was just lined up perfectly in front of me. And I built my value off the people that I sold drugs to or that knew my name. And the more drugs I tried, the more friends I would have.
Yeah.
Or the people, okay, you don't do acid. All right, well, do you do shrooms? Okay, cool, we can hang out. And I
Right.
just keep finding that's how I knew how to get along with people.
Wow.
Turns out that's not a good idea. And I went to school, high school. I tripping on acid and DMT. I'll tell you guys the story. I tell it I was in school. So I was this is like a Tuesday morning, and I'm at school, and I was in the bathroom.
Everything
for
happens
like-
on a Tuesday.
Right, exactly.
I was in the
This
bathroom.
podcast happens on a Tuesday.
I was in the bathroom for like 2 hours, just out of my mind on DMT and acid from the night before. The truancy officer, Liaison, comes in, and I'm peeing on the floor. He's like, "What do you like? It's on fire." Like, what do you mean? Like, it's on fire. You don't see this? And in my mind, I really it was so far gone. Like, I thought that it was on fire, and I'm peeing, and it turns out that they don't believe you, and it's hard to get them to believe that you're not on drugs.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And it was super embarrassing. Like, they made me leave the school, but like, I wouldn't have went back anyways. Like, I was already like socially weird. Like, now, okay, that's the dude that was just peeing in the bathroom, tripping out for a couple hours. You know, so I had to leave.
But at least you were peeing in the bathroom where you should
That's
be.
I was
true.
trying to
It
save
could be in the
day.
hallway.
You know, like,
Yeah,
I was trying to save the day in my eyes. Like,
you know what
you know what I mean? Like, don't worry, I got this one.
It's like they should be thanking you, not kicking you out.
Right.
What the heck?
You know what I mean? So at least you were in the bathroom and not like remember that guy who peed in the gym by the vending machine?
Yeah.
You know,
That'd be way worse.
it's worse because at least you're in the right room.
Yeah.
So is this like at a certain point it's got to escalate to where it's
No.
like things get really bad?
Yeah. So from
I
there,
mean, doesn't that already sound bad enough?
Yeah, well,
that was still, you could
But
still
you're not-
laugh that off. You could still like, oh, okay, I kind of get it. But then once it starts getting darker. So
Yeah.
like after that, I went to a couple alternative schools, like in Lydia, Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I went there. Now I got that identity. Like, okay, I do acid, I do shrooms, I do this now, and I got this story from what happened at school and all this. Well, I get introduced to Xanax, promethazine, and codeine, and OxyContin, and everything kind of just shifted. My whole life just shifted because.
Yeah.
The Xanax, I fell in love with it. Like, I got married with it. Sometimes because I suffered from anxiety, depression,
Yeah.
insecurities, personality disorder, and all kinds of, and like, Xanax made all that just go away. Like, everything, I was fearless.
See, and I think that right there is the first. For some reason, people in the current generation, there was a switch because these drugs, like prescribed drugs, did not exist. They just weren't even in the world.
No.
I mean, at least my world growing up, they just didn't exist. Like you'd hear jokes in the movies about, like maybe mom took one too many Valiums or something like that. And there was a huge, huge progression with this opioid-inspired, and
Yeah.
that really just happened like in the time you guys were, 10 to 20. It just like blew up. I never heard of any of these things, really ever. I'm not sure they existed, broadly,
Yeah.
but something happened where they just were pushed to every corner of the country, like everywhere,
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, maybe you smoke some marijuana once in a while, you drink beer in high school or something like that. There were kids just being totally bombed out on what are, supposed to be prescription grade drugs.
Yeah.
I don't know how it happened, but like as an 18-year-old kid or 16-year-old kid, how do you get a script or where do you buy them, 50 of this or 200 of that? How the hell does that happen?
So, yeah, at my time, we were ordering
It's crazy.
pills off the internet.
Right.
Silk Road was around.
Yeah.
Like, you can get everything sent right to a door. Like, who needs to go do this? I can send you a pill press, a pound of Prazolam powder, and what, you want some heroin? We'll throw that in too. We'll get some Bitcoin. Like, it's cool, and it's that it was that easy,
That's
before
crazy
it
to
blew
me.
up.
Yeah.
That is nuts. So you're like at the very beginning of something before they started having to lock it down.
Yeah,
Wow.
so like when I was coming up,
That's
like
insane.
I was a couple steps ahead of the game, and I kind of got off on that. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like it's like staying up on the newest trends. Like, okay, well I want to do this before it gets burned up, or before I end up getting taxed on it, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
I built my identity around that.
That's crazy.
You know, So the Xanax started making me. Everything got serious. You know, it's like it made me fearless. Like that's what another it drove me to do it more. Is like I could talk to any girl. I would fight anybody. I'm jumping off bridges, not knowing how deep the water is. Like I don't care, I'll do it. You know, and Jackass was out. You know, so it's like okay, it just worked. You know, like just how Steve-O was like my hero. Like and just seeing all the drug use and all that.
Steve-O, he's sober.
Yeah, he is
He's
sober.
been sober for a really, really, really long time.
Yeah.
It's like 13 years. And I think it's Wild Ride with Steve-O as a podcast. You guys watch that or listen to it?
I've heard about it.
No, I've only heard of it.
Check it out. There's a great episode with Steve-O and Mike Tyson.
Sure.
Oh, wow.
When they both find out that they're both in the same psych ward and they didn't know it. You're in here too? This is crazy, man. Like, what are you doing here? You're like, oh my God, finally, somebody I know is here. So they're like hugging. And so it's a weird, kind of a strange friendship to see Mike Tyson and Steve-O. If you are a fan, please watch it. It's a fantastic episode. And the stories, they're just out of this world.
Yeah.
I mean, just crazy, Remember when we met? His voice is all like that.
Yeah.
Remember how we met, Mike Tyson?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good, Steve.
Nice. You've been doing that for a while.
Yeah, I've been practicing in the mirror. So you go, so now you're on a path, right? You're on this path. And how old are you roughly at this time? Did you finish?
Probably about 16.
Okay.
When things really start heating up.
You're still in school? Or
You know,
you just like
once the
school's out?
Xanax started, once I started doing the Xanax and the pills, school was just like
Whatever.
it wasn't important. Like like it wasn't important at all. I'd show up on Saturday thinking it was Tuesday. No, school was shut down. Like I'm blacked out. And I would.
Jesus.
Yeah, but it took away all the negative things I didn't like about myself. But it took away the good. I didn't care about humanity, myself, my family, consequences.
So just flatlined everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting into trouble a lot. I'm hanging out with rougher people because I got to go to different areas and neighborhoods and going to buy drugs, and I have to put on this persona of I'm cool on this aspect. Yeah, I'm going out to the suburbs to sell these drugs and do all this and that, but like I'm still not going to tell on you. I'm still from around here and I have to prove myself.
Yeah.
And being blacked out, like I didn't think about anything past that, And I started getting in trouble. I went to jail for a day after I turned 18.
Okay.
And from like 15 till 18 was just blacked out. Like I remember probably like 3 days of it.
He's lost 3 years, basically.
Probably more than that, but like that's the big gap. It
But
was
give or
just,
take.
It was just gone. Like yeah. And I went to jail for possession of a firearm. Got into an argument with a friend over some drugs. We left and he called the cops, said I pulled the gun out on him or whatever, and I didn't have a license for it. Went to jail. Now I'm facing some time. They let me go to treatment because it was my first time really being in serious trouble. Went to treatment, met some people in there. They were doing heroin and meth, but like I was like bougie about my drugs. Like, no, I just do pills. I would never do that. I'm not a dirtbag and all this. But I chose to go out and hang out with those guys after. They offered to me a couple times. I'm like, no, I don't do that. Well, Xanax comes along. Now I'm fearless. I don't care about anything. And someone offered it to me, and I was blacked out. And they said the magic words. What, are you scared? Like, well, no, wait, that's not it. Now I'm gonna do it. And not even remembering this. And a friend of mine recorded me for the first time doing meth and heroin at the same time, and showed it to me the next day because they knew I wasn't gonna remember it.
Yeah.
And I was blacked out. Like, I talk about having some good friends, but that's just what it was. So then me blacked out on Xanax, my smart decision making when I found out was like, okay, well, if I did these drugs and don't remember them, and you guys know I did, and I didn't die, I might as well try and get the full effect off it. Because, all the drugs, like growing up in school, they'd be like, yeah, if you do drugs, you're going to die. Well, I did these drugs. I didn't die. So you guys are just trying to hold back my party, basically.
Yeah.
But the partying stopped for everyone else. And I kept going because now I'm trying to cover up my PTSD from all my childhood trauma and stuff down my emotions or feelings to prevent them from even happening, which is impossible, And so I started doing meth and heroin, and now I know I'm just searching for the next powerful high, the next thing that will cure me.
And that's what they say about, like, when you go to rehab, certain rehabs, not all of them, obviously, but, there are jokes. It's like, if you really want to learn how to do drugs, like for real, go to treatment.
Or jail,
Or jail, or both, really, right? But, like, that's how you really learn how to do drugs. Which is it's a really tongue-in-cheek and a hard thing to say about treatment. Because there's
melting pot,
Right. It's just you get all these people coming in and all this collective knowledge, which is bad. It's bad collective knowledge. But, so I'm not surprised to hear it because it's kind of like, it's the perfect place.
What a big thing that happens in treatments too is like the war stories, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the huge thing. Everybody comes in,
Yeah,
they're trying to learn a new way, but they don't know a new way, and
Yeah.
so they're stuck basically with the only conversation topic is the old way. And
Yeah.
so it's like, oh, let me tell you about my experiences, and then it's all this like one up. I'm gonna one up you, and
Yeah,
so
you're
then now
trading
you get
paint. I mean, all day.
Yeah.
So switch now a little bit. So Zach, like you said you're from Alexandria.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, like, explain how, like, what was your path? And Alexandria was different or the same, like some of the same stuff, or
Sure. So I was born in Alexandria, and I was only there about till 4 years old.
okay.
But I remember in those years, my parents that were together, they would like take me to the bar, and they would give me like money to go play the arcade games and kick me off to go play. And so as a kid, I was already a gamer, and my parents would go drink, and then and that's what I remember. That's like my earliest memories. And then my parents got a divorce, and so dad stayed in Alexandria, and mom took us and moved us out to California. So that was kind of just like Alec to California, and life didn't really start for me, I guess, where my memory starts to kick in until pretty much California. And I don't like, I remember living in this like apartment too, and the only memory about that is this black beak chasing us. But then all of a sudden I woke up one day and I'm like 5 years old. I'm in this house. My mom has a new boyfriend. It's my sister's dad, and there you go. I'm a kindergartner, right?
Yep.
And then in California, I spent about 8 years there.
So where in California?
So that first place was Visalia.
Okay.
And then throughout the next 8 years, I went to 8 different schools, lived at 8 different houses, and I would fly on a plane back and forth every single break that I had to go see my dad. So it was like over 50 plane rides in 8 years too. So I just had this crazy unstable upbringing where it was like, go to school, get some friends, go away, come back, new school, don't have friends. And I would just like constantly would like think about like, why does my life look so different? Now, why do these kids have their parents, you know, and why is it that I have to go to another? Because my mom had a job too for City Financial, and it required her to move every single year, and so it's just kind of a part of it. You know, it's just what she had to do as a single mom to raise 3 kids, going on her 4th kid, right? And so it was just kind of weird, and I would also get bullied for being the new kid, and so like I just had this like rejection issue. But then that same effect that even Rolando, what's crazy and I love about the stories that come from like addiction is they're like different. They're all different, but they have they have a lot of similarities. So for me, I also had to take on that chameleon personality, right? That identity crisis at that age, because it's like, okay, how am I going to fit in with this next group of kids, you know, without feeling that rejection? Because just like you were saying, we're all kind of human, right? We all want the same thing, to feel that love. And so I just wanted that acceptance. And so that was a big thing that kind of like started in my upbringing. You know, there was that bullying, there was some like sexual abuse that from like a cousin, that kind of stuff. And so that just created a lot of confusion in my life as a kid. And then at 12 years old, that's when things started to take the next turn for me. And 12 was about the time when drugs got introduced to me. And so at that point, mom decided she was going to have a quick midlife crisis, which is cool because she wanted to become a cosmetologist. And so she's like, we're going back to Minnesota. I was like, all right. I don't know why Minnesota, but let's do it because I'll be closer to dad then. So then at that point, we moved into I call it a village. It's like 1,300 people. It's called Elbow Lake.
Okay.
Ever heard of it?
Elbow Lake?
Yeah, so it's like Hickville, like straight up, dude. So I graduated with 60 people, and I think all of them owned trucks at one point. So it's just like, that was just it, you know?
I like trucks.
Yeah, trucks are great, you know?
I have a truck. We both do. Do you have a truck?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, trucks are great, you know, but that was it.
Yeah, but I bumped Goody Mob in my truck.
There you go. Hey, they're from the country too, though.
Yeah, that's true. It was just kind of it, you know, and that was a big culture shock on my own end because I went from Bakersfield, California, with 300,000 people to 1,300 people, and it's just
Now, Bakersfield, not trying to throw shade on Bakersfield, that was a tough town.
Oh yeah, it's horrible.
Bakersfield is a really, really rough town. It is yearly in the top 10 worst socioeconomic cities in the country.
100%.
Every year. It's a hard-ass town, excuse my language, but it's a hard town. So I'm not surprised to hear some commonality there. It's not like you were like, we were coming from Santa Barbara or something. You're coming from Bakersfield.
San Diego.
Right.
Well,
you know. So I was like, where'd you come from? You're like, Bakersfield. I was like, ooh,
Oh, there's a story there.
that's a tough draw.
Well, dude, okay, I remember being a fifth grader, right?
Yeah.
Fifth grader, small dude on his rollerblades, going down the street, and I got invited to 2 gangs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think about that image. I'm like, that just
Was it on a
seems-
Tuesday?
It was.
Yeah.
Definitely on a Tuesday. It was always on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And so, but I just think like that was great. I remember too. I was like, I don't think my mom would like that. And so I
Right.
did enjoy the gang, but because at that time I also like,
Like, so what do I have to do to get in this gang? Like, have to buy us all ice cream. All right.
And I remember that even he was talking his little thing is wanting to be the Rock, but so for me I wanted to be a ninja. Like that was like super on my mind. I thought it'd be super.
I
cool.
still want to be a ninja.
Right. But I also knew there wasn't like a 9 to 5 being a ninja and then you go home and take care of your family. Not that I found. If you know anything, please let me know.
And maybe we can do some research.
Yeah. So that was like a big all-time thing for me. But I kind of translated that over to being a Navy SEAL. Like I thought that would be the coolest thing in the world.
Could you imagine that if there was a ninja service like Uber or Lyft?
Uber?
Like if
Ninja for hire.
like if you needed a ninja to take care of some things,
Just go on your app.
covertly.
Yeah.
Hey, I know what, dude, I'd be training right now.
I know. Like,
They'll be there in 4 minutes. They're just
Yeah.
around the corner.
yeah, I just
You have to provide your own costume though.
right.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't want to meet you. You go back to the Bitcoin deal. And just pay that way.
Yeah, it's all online services.
But for the first time, we got to watch Beverly Hills Ninja.
Dude,
yes.
with Chris Farley.
Yeah.
Classic.
I was like, I want that ninja.
It's been so
he
long
was
since
he was kind of a bigger ninja.
I mean, he got the job done at the end of the day.
he did.
Yeah.
The Kung Fu Panda of ninjas.
Right, I know.
Haru. That was it.
Rest in peace, Chris. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Speaking of addicts, God, he was just
Yeah.
wow. He's like
Story there.
Hall of Fame, maybe.
It's crazy. He was the one who said that you end up in a van down by the river. On the Saturday Night Live when he's
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that totally brought me back to our training.
Yeah.
But we just did PRSS training or peer recovery support specialist training.
And you do.
And there's this whole skit. Yeah, ninja. That'd be.
So how old
So
are you when
Navy
you go
SEAL,
to-
you said?
when you go to Elbow Lake?
Oh, I'm at this point I'm about 12 years old, so
Yeah.
I'm going into 7th grade at this point. So now we're starting middle school. Obviously, the most important years of your life because now you really care what people think of you. And so, I'm in this small town school. Everybody knows everybody, and I remember like right away I knew I was off to a bad start when I was the dude from California. So all the 7th grade girls cornered me, and all the 7th grade dudes looked at me like, who are you? So instantly friends were kind of out the picture.
You want to join a gang?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which one is called? We beat you up every day. That's the name of the gang.
Initiation every day.
That's funny. That was initiation over there.
You
Actually,
get jumped every day.
Yeah,
Dang it.
I know. So I remember.
Stupid elbow lake. Like punch in the face lake.
Other pickup trucks.
There's not even a lake there.
Sorry. I'm sorry. We can just go so many places right now.
Oh man.
No wonder why Elbow Lake. Right, Elbow Pond.
Well, the thing is, small town, man. Like one of the things is like, there's nothing to do in those small towns unless you come from a family that's like on a farm. Like it's just, we were just brand new in there with not too much to do. So you were saying busy body, busy mind also
Yeah.
kind of keep you away from that stuff. Well, when
Exactly.
you have all the time in your hand. But kind of going into it, like I showed up, I was a 7th grader. I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. So that was I kind of formed an identity around that, but there was no foundation there yet. And so I was already in baseball. I did that every summer for the years up. And then I joined wrestling, and just like Ro, joined football, but he stayed with it kind of until you couldn't. I quit because I had to learn the plays and I did not want to. So I just said, screw it. So I left football. And I remember that like, I figured, the group of friends I was going to end up surrounding myself with was also going to be military freaks, right?
Yeah.
And we're all going to be doing the same thing, talking about it, preparing ourselves. But that's not quite what happened. Instead, at one of the football games after I quit, there was like a group of 9th graders, right? And it was a particular group. And I remember they were like, "You're that kid from California, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "Come hang out with us," right? And that was it's called Welcome to Barrett. In that small group, if you want to be welcome to that group, you have to get jumped. It's kind of funny.
Okay.
I mean, kind of.
Yeah. No, I mean,
I mean, not for me at the time.
Yeah, I say that's not.
But the next person, it was pretty funny. So, but it was cool because like now I started getting that acceptance, right? Because like I was a 7th grader, 9th graders like me. I'm like, oh man, I got to be kind of popular now, right? The older kids. And so I remember I was hanging out with them, and they were the kids that like to smoke weed and drink and party. And so it's a small town, right? Everybody knows everybody. So they were kind of known as the troublemakers. But for me, I was like, I don't even care. I just want to hang around with some friends, right? I want some buds. And so I remember we're hanging out, and they would be like, hey, come smoke some weed with us. I was like, nah, I don't really want to do that. Because I remember at the time I told myself, I don't want to drink, I don't want to smoke. That's not going to take me to where I want to go. And so I already created this kind of standard for myself. But the thing that I like to say is like peer pressure plus the fear of rejection is a huge steroid into a disaster. And that's kind of what happened is after a couple times, the one thought that changed it for me was like, if I say no, I'm afraid these guys aren't going to want to be my friends anymore. And so I told myself, I'll just try it one time. What's the worst that could happen, you know? And so they took me into a field, which is the weirdest place to smoke weed for your first time. You don't know what's going to happen there. And so it's like, this is going to be another welcome to Barrett. And so like, I'm chilling. They like kind of showing me what to do, you know, and finally I start to get some hits in, and next thing you know, I'm just super baked. But the thing that happened right away is all of a sudden I just stopped caring. I didn't care that my parents had got a divorce, or that I got shipped around everywhere and I had no idea why, or that I got bullied as a kid. You know, like in 3rd grade, we were kind of talking about how Bakersfield was really bad. I lived in Fresno during 3rd grade, and Fresno was the worst place I ever lived. We only made it 6 months before Mom took us out of there.
Yeah, Fresno's has some nice spots, but it's pretty rough too.
Yeah, and we were in like the real countryside of it, and man, I got bullied so hard there. And I just got that one was really tough, but I just like I didn't care about all these things. And the thing that really like got me dependent on weed, I should say, is like I stopped caring about finding my value in everybody else's opinion for myself.
It's hard though, because you're thinking like 10 years ago, you know, if you're in 7th grade, you're 12, right?
Right.
Do you have a shifting mind perspective on how do you define value?
Right.
Can you even recognize what that is in a human being, in yourself? Do you have the perspective at that age to do that, right? And I got, you know, like my 2 sons one is a very concrete thinker because he's 10, but he's a real 10-year-old.
Sure.
And you know, my other son is going to be 12 on Friday, and he's 5'10" and a half, and he has hairy legs, and he just blows my mind still. So he's switching over to being an abstract thinker, but he's not all the way there yet. You know? It's like when you're like little, if you show somebody something like, here's the ball, and you put the ball behind your back.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're like, where is it? Like, they don't know that you're still holding it. And so you still are such a hardcore concrete thinker when you're young, and depending on where you are, like, can you even recognize that lesson, or you just recognize pain?
Right.
Like, I don't know why, but this feels bad.
Yeah.
And if I do this, even for a short while, it feels better. And your brain goes, well, that's pretty good. Let's do that again. If it's, you know, social, if it's judging somebody else, beating somebody else up, drugs, alcohol, whatever it is, you know, getting laughs or telling jokes, or your brain's programmed to do that, right?
Yeah.
So you're 12 and you're already recognizing this pattern.
Right. And
like, okay, this works.
Right. And that, like, at the time, you know, and part of it was weed exposed how much pain I was going through, because I didn't realize how much it was until I didn't feel it for a second. And then all of a sudden I was like, whoa, there's like so much tension that just went off of me.
Yeah.
And I love this feeling right now.
Yeah.
And so an hour and a half later, I'm not high, and all of a sudden it starts to come back, and I realize, oh my gosh, I'm carrying around this weight. Now, 10 years later, I look back and I'm like, man, it would have been so smart to just go talk to somebody about this, right? And deal with it. But as a 12-year-old, that's not what you'd think. You'd think, wow, I just learned a coping mechanism, and this is how I'm going to do it. You know, I'll just smoke weed and maybe it'll all go away.
So you think kids now are hearing that, like, more often?
About, like, being able to go talk?
Yeah. Like,
sure.
I mean, not everywhere, but, you know.
That's our big message now. Part of Know the Truth is like, go talk to someone. You're not alone. Open up. No one's gonna know what you're going through if you don't talk about it. And by us holding it in, that's how our lives got to where they were. Yeah. That's like boil it down. That's like our big message.
And like we had this, you know, we always end our thing, you know, if there's one thing, because, you know, and the setting of going into the schools and presenting, chances are for a good bunch of them, we're not going to see or talk to them again.
Never.
Know?
Yeah.
So if what's that one thing we really want them to like just take away and know and to hold on to and use maybe one
Go
day.
see a therapist. Go
Literally,
see,
yeah. Talk to somebody. Whether it is a therapist, a counselor. I know adults and things like that can be kind of scary. So go find a friend you trust.
Yeah.
Just go find somebody. And for me, in my story, at some point, I did reach out. This wasn't until later down when I was about 19 years old, and I'm already, head deep into everything.
Yeah.
And I got rejected in that help. But
Yeah, which is awful.
Right, because then all of a sudden now you feel like, oh, I can't even go get help, and so I still also press the message. If it feels like if somebody's not listening to you, just keep on going, keep on reaching out, find somebody. Like there's somebody out there in this world, and we try to present ourselves as that person.
Yeah.
So we have this anonymous text line that kids can kind of message, and we can kind of keep up a conversation, and just let them know, like, just come talk to us. Then we care. We want.
I just remember people not like. They didn't talk about therapy or going to see a counselor. It was more like a punchline. Or I guess when I was a kid, I thought that people that went to therapy were rich.
Sure.
Or like there was some kind of
like bougie, just kind of
like Woody Allen would talk about going to therapy, or like people in New York or like had therapists to deal with these bigger world problems. And like poor kids from the inner city didn't go to therapists.
No,
So have the
we looked
money
at it
or
as a
whatever.
sign of weakness.
Right.
Oh,
So I was like, I'm not going to see a therapist. But so like I think my kids now, I don't know if you talk about you're going to see your therapist or not, or if you have one. But it's like if I go, and see a therapist, I think I would be more inclined, like, to have my kids know that I'm going to see a therapist.
Sure, yeah.
To show them that it's
just to normalize it a little bit.
there's some normalcy, right? Yeah.
Right.
Like it's okay to do that.
I mean, Tony Soprano went to a therapist. That kind of
Right.
turned things for me. Like, okay, he's like, okay, like everyone needs someone to talk to. We're human.
Well, we talk about it a lot more now. This idea of self-care. Like it's like the John Muir quote. It's like, into the woods I go to lose my mind and find my soul. I think it is.
Sure.
So you go out there and do that. I don't remember having these conversations about like meditative walking or just like meditation period. We're going out and like I'm gonna go sit in the woods but like I think it's your age group. It's more prevalent now that at least there's some ways to go get help.
Well, and just like you bring this up a lot, but like and especially it feels like back then it was like this idea, like especially if you're a guy, you don't talk about your feelings.
Yep.
You don't get that's weak, that's soft. You don't do that. You just
Tell a good joke in place of it.
Yeah, right. And there's a lot of different things. Some people get angry. Some people find humor. It's just whatever it is to instead. But like it was never don't express your feelings. Guys don't do that. Don't cry. Guys don't do that.
Which I don't know why that is. It's some like machismo crap that's passed down from generation, to generation from
just
like fear.
Yeah.
But as a child, you develop that core belief, and it's disastrous. It's toxic, and it's almost impossible to get rid of. It seems like at the time,
Right.
Well, you ever?
Go ahead.
So, you guys like music?
Oh
Yeah.
Like music is, kind of life and therapy for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Are there songs that you'll listen to that when you hear that song, it'll make you emotional, make you tear up a little bit?
Yeah, I just made him listen to that playlist on the way here.
You know what I mean? So you're just like
5-star playlist.
You're just like driving, and you're like, God damn it!
I just want to enjoy a good cry right now.
This song every time. And so like I have a list of songs like that too, and I'm playing a song, and my kid's looking at me, and he's like, why are you crying? I was like, this song reminds me of my mom. It's some song that probably came out when you guys weren't even weren't alive. So do you have a song like that?
I have a lot of songs that I like.
You're
they
like-
come on, and it like I could explain exactly how it like visually, how like that point of my life, how it even smelled.
Time,
Right.
yeah, it's like
Right.
a
I
time
could-
capsule.
Yeah, like I could you all of a sudden like literally the smell comes back of that that particular moment in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like, dude, the song, it's just like kind of your typical. It's like "I'm Yours" by Jason Mraz, right? Every single time brings me back to 6th grade. My mom would drive me to school, and it seemed like every single morning that song came on, and we would sit there, and I remember the clicking of her nails against the steering wheel as she would kind of click to the beat, and we would sing it together, and it's almost like like for me, as like as awesome of a moment as it is, it almost makes me feel a little sad because it was like times were kind of simple then, you know.
Yeah.
As a sixth grader,
Right.
dude, you didn't have to care about too much.
No.
You just had to
Right.
go to school, you know, make sure
Yeah.
you eat, you know, go play outside. I'd collect snails, you know.
Yeah.
Times were simple, you know.
Yeah.
But and so I kind of feel that like, man, the good old days, you know. But yeah,
I try to foster that, and I guess that's the point of the the question is, I think that helps to keep at least keep younger men and at-risk youth, that it's okay to stay in touch with your feelings, even if
Yeah,
it comes through in like a song, or you're like walking down the street and you see something that catches your eye. A floating plastic bag down the street is mesmerizing, or whatever it is. Try to stay connected to that, I think, is what was the point.
Yeah.
And like, where you lose that connection. Like, I'm going to stuff this all the way down here and forget that.
Right.
And you got to put weight on top of it with
Right.
drugs, alcohol, relationships.
Well, and that's
you know what I mean?
it too. It's like, man, that I'm feeling this now, and I'm told that I'm not supposed to, but I don't know how to suppress it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you smoke some weed, drink some, take some Xanax or whatever it ends up being, the poison of choice. And man, it's just like, that's it, dude. You're
Yeah,
like,
if
this is
it's-
how I cope with it,
If it's
right?
food abuse or sex abuse or drug
Right,
abuse
yeah.
or alcohol, or it's pretty nuts. I'm serious.
Humans are so
Well,
fucked up.
your
Yeah.
your brain's
Get
just
that
like
beep in there.
Yeah.
your brain's just programmed to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I have a couple questions that I'm interested to hear from both.
Sure,
of you.
yeah,
Sorry
let's-
to
no, please go ahead. I just
So I have two questions.
Yeah.
So I again never having gone through what you guys have gone through, but it seems to me like there's a common theme of the graduates that I've talked to, or the clients in Adult and Teen Challenge, is there was like a point.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it's like the threshold, I've crossed the threshold, something is really wrong. I'm out of control. Like I need to go get help, Teen Challenge or something like that. Like that's my
they call
first.
they call it rock bottom.
Yep.
You've
Sure.
heard that
So that-
before, rock bottom. And
That's
you've
my
probably
first
felt something
question
else.
is like, did you have one of those moments? And then secondly is, how was it going through Adult and Teen Challenge, and how did you start going in, and then what changed inside of the program, and then from graduation and from till you guys are now? Like that, those are the two questions that I'm interested to ask.
For sure.
You go ahead, man.
For me, like I've done 7.5 years in prison, not all at once, but broken up
Yep.
in increments. And about 2 years ago, I got in a bunch of trouble, got caught with some dope, fleeing an officer,
Yep.
just all in a psychosis, and I was facing 12 years, 130 months. And the judge was like, you're facing all this time. What are you gonna do? I was like, well, just send me to prison. I'll do an early release program, and I'll be back on my way. And he was like, well, no, that hasn't worked for you.
So did you go through like drug court?
No, they gave me the option to go to Minnesota Teen Challenge,
Okay.
and I'd go back for sentencing and deal with
Yep.
that, basically like rolling the dice on me.
Yep.
And I was like, cool, like I'll go in the front door, out the back door, and be getting high by Friday. That was my mindset, because I was so conditioned to going in and out of prison that
Yep.
it didn't mean nothing. I was comfortable there. I was comfortable with the progress, with the cycle. I knew it was going to happen. So I got to treatment, and things started changing. People start asking me about, how I'm doing, my feelings, how am I doing? Can I do something for you? And I'm like, okay, what do these people want? Like, what's the catch here?
Yeah.
Like,
What's the angle here?
Yeah, you want
Yeah.
me to sell
Super sus.
dope? Is like,
Yeah.
is there a health insurance scam? Like, what's going on here? Just,
Right.
just put me in.
I know,
And I was like,
that's
I'm not going to leave until I figure it out. And I figured it was.
And so you're
it
like
was
27, 28 right now?
28.
Yeah.
It was 28 at the time.
Yeah.
And I just figured out that people were loving it. It all came back to God. But for me, that you would think that my rock bottom came when I was in the streets, and in a sense it did, but I just got high and pushed through the rock bottom.
Yep.
So went to treatment, and then halfway through the program, the program is 13 months long. It took me 18, because I like to learn things the hard way. And and it was just like prison in the streets. Okay, I'll go in here and I'll be a chameleon. I'll say the right things.
Yep.
I heard this phrase or this slogan, all this, and
Yeah.
I adapted that and started saying and doing all the right things on the outside. On the inside, it's still a mess. Well, going through the riots and then COVID
Yeah.
and all that stuff, we were in quarantine, and then we were in there for like 6 months.
You're forced.
And then
Yeah.
there came a point they let us go all, and on the surface, everybody's, you're doing good, you're doing so great, we're proud of you, this and that. Like, crap. Like, what did I do? Inside, I'm still me. They gave us a 4-day vacation pass. I went home. My family threw a barbecue for me, like 100 people. All unhealthy though, and they're
Yeah.
congratulating. Oh, you're so good. We're proud of you. You don't have to. You can sell dope. You don't have to go and use it. And I'm like, oh crap,
That makes
like,
no sense.
Makes
Right.
no sense.
Right. You're like, what are you,
and like,
nuts?
wait, you guys are here for me to congratulate me, but you're drinking, people are smoking, doing their
Yeah.
thing, and I could just feel the self-destruction button. Just I can feel it.
Yep.
You know, got back to I
gotta get outta here.
Yeah, and I got back to the program, made it
Yeah.
back. A situation presented itself, and I took advantage of it. I got high. So I chose to get high because maybe they'll kick me out. I'm a fraud. I don't know what's going on. They'll kick me out if I get high, right? You know, it won't be my fault because I can blame it on the dope. Did that, and they didn't kick me out. And it was a rare case because usually they do, but they saw something in me I didn't, and I prayed on it, and that's when I really got serious. I was like, all right, well, God, you're keeping me here for a reason.
So now there's some different kind of guilt and shame.
Exactly. Now I actually experience the shame
Because they invested in you.
Yeah. So now it's real.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so. And when that moment hit, I still felt love, though. It's like, okay, I was a fraud, but that love was still real, and it's still here. Why do I not feel alone? Why are these people here? I'm looking at them like family, but I want to run, hoping they'd kick me out. They didn't. So I was like, all right, God, if this is true, if this is what you want, like, I'll dump all my garbage out on these people, and it's your mess. And everything changed. That was my point. And I completely surrendered, literally everything. Now they've been having me on the radio and on KTIS. I've been on TV like 4 times and just all different kinds of things. And just, I don't feel like I deserve it still or anything like that. It's just, oh, God, what do you want me to do next? What do you want me to do next? And then I get like, now like today, sharing through the North Central thing. It's like, okay, God's like, look, here's a little bit more. Just keep going. Just keep going. And I just keep trusting. I put my feelings, my emotions aside, and I just keep walking.
Did you have a faith before Teen Challenge?
No, Jesus was just a guy on a chain when he got some money. You know what I mean? Like, other than that, or when you're in trouble, cry to Jesus. Other than that, he's just a dude on a chain. You know what I mean? Like, and that's all it was. You know, and I didn't understand it, but like I had to break through the mental barriers of the father figure I had in life, because that right there just
scar tissue.
Oh, like this dude's my dad. Like my dad was a dirtbag, so why would I? You know, so I had to get through all that and build a relationship. I had to. Studied scripture. I meditated. I prayed, and now I had to build a relationship that I valued, and everything changed. Now, like, I don't pray. I talk to God all day for advice. Thinking I meditate. It became a lot real. Now I can't run from it if I wanted to. You know.
When did you graduate from the program?
February.
Wow,
nice.
You know,
congratulations.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, let's hear your version of when you're like, oh, I gotta figure the life out.
Yeah. So real quick, the quick progression, right? 12 was like the weed and alcohol. 15, I started abusing prescription pills. I was never prescribed, but you go buy them. 18 years old, it's like cocaine and ecstasy, Molly, mushrooms, acid, and then finally at 21, I got introduced into methamphetamines. Right? And I was like poster child, why not to do it? It took me like literally 3 months, and then I threw everything away. So for me, it was like I got introduced to it on a Vegas trip for my 21st birthday by my older brother, and it was just like, here, try this, and I remember that like I threw everything into it, because at this point, in the midst of all my story, I also broke into an airport. Don't do that, by the way. Wouldn't recommend. I was blacked out. I should say that too on alcohol. It wasn't like I just woke up on a Tuesday. And I was like
practicing your ninja skills.
Right.
Apparently I suck at being a ninja. I got caught. And
He was like, wear white or black for this? What time of day is it?
I know, it was in the middle of the winter, and I somehow chose black.
I was like, I think there's rhyme or reason to this burglary.
But when you drink a bottle of Jägermeister, bad decisions come out of that. But, and so in the the pressure of the world, man, I like ran out of money. I would go a week at a time without eating or sleeping, and then all of a sudden I'd binge eat and binge sleep, and then just kind of do that over and over. I had no friends anymore, because they just I had one person who did stick by my side, but outside of that, I had like no other connections. Just nobody trusted me, But why would they? I was manipulative. I stole. I lied. My yes was never yes. My no was never no. And finally, and I also lost my car, but I got kicked out of my apartment, right? And so I had the 2 days. It was like 48 hours, right? And I was living with my brother. He was the one that came home, and he was like, you only got 2 days, because I wasn't paying my bills for the last 3 months, And so right then and there, I kind of I hit this moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I got to do something. I've been wanting to be sober for years, but at this point, I literally thought it was going to be impossible. I said, I'm just going to be an addict for the rest of my life, It seemed like everybody else gave up on me. But
at 21, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, that was my thought. I was stuck, And I literally had no hope. but there was one person who never gave up on me, and I didn't realize this until this moment, but it was my dad. And my dad had, he had an alcoholic problem when he was, when I was young, right? He was the one that took me to the bars. He got a D-dub when I was in third grade, called me from jail, was like, I'm going to change my life. And I remember I was like, well, okay, Dad. I just didn't even know the difference between what he was in. And he did. He changed his life. He met God, literally just, and he was, he's married to my stepmom, Karen. Their marriage was their relationship before they got married was on the verge of just like collapsing. And literally, it was kind of cool because she was telling me that I was the reason why she stuck around long enough for him to change, because he needed help with driving me around when I was there in the summer. So it was kind of cool there. But he's been wanting me to get sober for like 6 years. So 6 years he prayed that God would change my life, and I'm just out there getting high and breaking in airports and stuff, and
on a Tuesday,
always on a Tuesday. Everything happens on a Tuesday. That's the motto, right?
That's actually going to be the name of the show.
Everything happens on a Tuesday.
Yes.
Yeah. You got to put a little ring in it too, with a little jingle.
We'll put that in there.
Yeah,
your little jingle. That'll be it.
And man, gosh, and I remember. When that happened, I was like, I either got to go hit the streets and start selling drugs because I have no idea where else I'm going to go. Nobody's going to take me in. I know that. Or I can try reaching out for help, right? And so I called my dad, and I'm bawling my eyes out. And it's like, and I remember I was like, dude, I need help. And to give you a context of my character at that time, my dad literally was preparing himself to say no to me because he thought I was going to ask for money, because that's all I ever did. And so he's preparing that, but I'm just like weeping, and I'm just like, Dad, I need to change. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I said, I don't know what it is, but I need to change my life. And so, and he was like, well, would you go to treatment? I was like, I remember I was like, I never even thought about that. Even though all I was surrounded by was people that did drugs and drank and were like crazy alcoholics and stuff. The world of treatment I'd never heard about it, except like maybe some outpatient, but I didn't even understand that. And so I was like, I don't care what it is, not even knowing what I was going to get myself into. He's like, well, would you go to Minnesota Daunting Challenge? And at this point, I was too desperate.
You were like, yes.
There's this big saying, it's like, until the pain of staying in the same place exceeds the pain of change, nothing ain't gonna happen. At this point, I was feeling way too much pain, and I needed something different. And so I grabbed on that opportunity, and so then that was kind of my into Teen Challenge. And he's actually the guy that helped set up the galas in Alexandria. So you guys kind of have similar positions.
Yep.
And so, man, it was, but going into it, again, I had no idea. And I should say, like, real quick, right before I went in, so the day before, so it was October 29th of 2019 was the day I walked in. October 28th of 2019 was when I had to schedule my Rule 25. Do you guys know kind of what, right? So Rule 25 would be like an application or interview to determine if you're eligible to like go into treatment.
Like assessment.
Yeah, and that was like one of the first tests I ever aced. It was pretty cool.
High school. Like,
yeah, you super. They're like, we need to get you in now, and but it was crazy. So
you do your Rule 25 assessment, just like, I'll just check everything.
Yeah, right.
Just a line instead of checking the box.
Let's just do a line.
It's just everything. Please get me in. And it was scheduled at 1 p.m. It was over FaceTime too, which is crazy because I thought I didn't have a car either, right? And so it was cool how God opened that door up, because he knew that if I had too much time on my hands outside of like the 2 days, I would have been getting back in all that stuff. But so it was like 1 p.m. is the interview. 11 p.m. I'm getting in the shower to get ready, right? And normally when I shower, I'm listening to some music, and I'd always do rock or rap or something like that. But there was one song that I remember from youth camp I'd go to as a kid. My dad was a part of church, and he would take me with, and eventually I just didn't want to go, but I wanted to go to this youth camp because it was super fun. It was the one place that I felt like I could actually be myself.
Be yourself.
Yeah, it was like, there's just something about youth camp, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for me, it was Rock River Bible Camp.
Right, sure.
RRBC.
It's just a whole vibe to youth camp, Bible camp,
Yep.
And there's one song I remember, and we're talking about the song that brings back the most emotion, and it's Oceans by Hillsong Worship, which we listened to on the way here.
Definitely on the top 5.
Yeah, man. And I remember that was the only one I could remember. So I turned it on, and I get in the shower, and it's just going to be a casual shower. But all of a sudden, her name's Taya Smith, she starts singing. And I just like felt the world just whoo, at one time,
Yeah.
right? I'm making a decision, but I have no idea what's happening. I'm still feeling that hopelessness and like I'm stuck. And I fall on my knees in that shower and I just weep. And I mean, the hardest weep I could possibly do, and it's just like sobbing. I'm glad no one was home. It'd be really weird, but so I'm just
No,
weeping.
it's great.
Yeah, right.
It's like real, like that's real.
So there's
hardcore
nobody
crying,
there, so
just
I knew
letting
I
it
could
all-
let it. Yeah.
Just,
Oh yeah, and it was just
the
and it
ugly
was
cry
just,
face too.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Just-
well, dude, it's like I'm in the shower, so nobody can know how much I'm crying, right?
Yeah.
And I remember that in my weeping, it was like the first time I ever made the conscious decision to look up. And you know, he brought up like that, like I'm going to pray just to get myself out of this. I've done that, you know, God, please, I promise I'll change, you know. It never actually changed, but somehow he still takes
Please
me.
let the Cubs win a World Series. And then 2016, he was like, "What now?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, they won." I was like, "Can we get another one, please? It's been 5 years."
I know, right? So that the what they call them, like a coin machine. You put in a quarter, get your little miracle.
Cosmic
right?
vending machine.
Yeah, cosmic vending machine. But,
Yeah.
but this time it was so much more genuine. There's something more to it. Because at this point it wasn't like get me out. Because my normal prayer was like, do this and I promise I'll do this, right? This is 3 words. That was my first prayer, genuine prayer ever, man. And I looked up and I'm like on my knees and I'm just like, I need you. Like that's all I could say in my weeping. And it was crazy. And it was just like his presence flooded that shower, man. And I remember that like the temperature, I like a hot shower, but it got even warmer in there. And it was a whole different temperature, right? And all of a sudden I feel something behind me and it was 2 arms that wrapped around me. And to this day, it is literally the most real hug I've ever gotten. I could hug any of you guys and it's still, this one felt more real. And it just squeezed me and I'm on my knees in the shower, right? And I'm just like, my head's down and I just feel this squeeze and I just start to weep even harder because now I start to get flooded with joy, right? And the first feeling I ever felt from that was forgiveness. It was crazy because I didn't know anything about sin. I didn't know none of this Bible shenanigans, right? But I felt this forgiveness and it was unreal because I knew I was a bad person. And so that totally just like, I just started weeping even harder. And now the next thing you know, I spent 20 minutes in there just letting it all out and experiencing this peace and this newfound hope, like, oh, I think I can change, you know, like all of a sudden it started flooding me. And so I get out of the shower, you know, and I get ready and I'm just like super ecstatic. See, I've never been so excited to find out if I'm qualified for treatment. But so I like get on the phone, I'm just like, just telling this guy, you know, and it was just crazy because it was like at this time we have direct access into treatment.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go through that process. But when I came in, there was a whole thing to it. And on a normal day, it would take a couple weeks to get in.
Yeah. Which I think is from a policy standpoint, is like the stupidest thing possible.
Right.
Because what you're doing is you're just giving people that are highly anxious, agitated, coming down, and they're already in it. They're just going to go back out.
Right.
And
Dude, you give somebody 2 weeks.
And the cycle goes like this.
Yeah.
It's like, I just saw you, Mr. Doe. And you're like,
Sorry.
sorry. I was
It's a
like,
week and a half, you know?
get me on the calendar.
Right.
Let's go.
And so that's direct access is, dude, but in itself just amazing. That's what we needed. But at the time where it would take somebody normally 2 weeks to even a month, I've heard, to get in, it took me 2 days. You know, and literally there's the big door open for me to step into a whole new thing. So now I have this. The pain is way too much here in the spot. I just met the presence of God, changed my. And for the first time, I told my stepmom, who's a pretty firm believer, that I think I met God. You know, and so then we're weeping in the middle of Pizza Ranch, which is a crazy thing. You know, and it's fun there. But
they have a shower at Pizza Ranch? It's like, which? Okay, I'm like, where is the...
That was dinner after I found out I got accepted.
I'm
Right?
like, I want to go to that Pizza Ranch because sometimes after you eat there, you want a shower.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Have to. A shower and a nap.
Yeah, and a nap. Yep.
And so that was my introduction into treatment, right? And so first treatment I've ever been to, and I'm in there, and they do have the short-term side of it too. And the short-term is more like faith-based optional. It's secular treatment with faith option. So I'm in there, I'm like, I'll be here for 30 days, not really knowing how this all works. And there was just, and as I get into it, and as I'm diving more into like what Scripture's about, what God's about, who I am, because at this point I'm still dealing with an identity crisis, as well as like, it's like dating somebody you don't know, that you have to like live with every day. And I just knew in my heart, I was like, I got to do this long-term program. And so I jumped in 13 months, and there goes the newest adventure of my life, man. And it was just like the biggest thing about it for me was like two things. It's what changed it for me. And it was, number one, forgiving myself. That was really hard. It was easier to go and forgive people and ask for forgiveness from them, but to like look at myself in the mirror and tell myself I love myself, like that was so hard.
It's still hard. I mean, it's still hard for
Yeah.
everybody, I think. It's
Yeah.
you know, you vacillate and go back and forth. You know, like I was raised Catholic. So it's like my three main emotions are guilt, shame, and joy.
Right, sure,
That's
yeah.
it. You know what I'm saying?
Fire and brimstone all
Right.
day, right?
So, you know, to say that or know that it's one thing to say, like, I am good enough, I have self-worth, I have self-value. But you know if you are, you know, if you're playing yourself.
Yeah.
You go and, you know, you look in the mirror and you know, like, I think I'm a piece of trash.
Yeah.
I know I'm not worth anything.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm, like, nobody gives a crap. Like, nobody cares about me.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't even care about myself. Like, you know if it's real or not.
Right.
And so it's like, you know, to get to that point, I mean, at 20, you know, 21 or 28,
I was 21 at the time
You know.
when I walked in, just a couple months after 21.
so you got 20 to 25 years, give or take, of programming. That is just like the worst programming possible.
Yeah.
And nobody's programming is perfect, right?
Right.
I mean, there were, you know, my background is very similar to how you guys, you know, more, you know, like your upbringing is very similar to, you know, how I was raised. So there's all these pockets of positivity and negativity, right? And so, you know, you go to treatment, it's early, and you're doing, you know, a year in or 6 months in. You know, you've been sober for, you know, this, you know, time period, so you have this clarity, hopefully, right? But, so my question is, do you think that the faith-based component is what put it over the top for it to be successful? Because had you been in treatment before, and it doesn't sound like it.
I've been in treatment 5 times.
Okay, so 5.
Once and then that's once in prison, which was CBT.
Yeah.
The cognitive behavior therapy. None of it was faith. Like, it was easy to get sober. Like, okay, I'm sober. Now what? Still,
But to
life,
stay sober.
But
yeah,
to
life
stay,
still
right?
sucks. My emotions are feelings. Now they're just raw feelings and emotions
Right.
that I have to sit here and I don't know what to deal with. It didn't work.
So you've been in treatment. This was the one time, like the first time you went to treatment, and you had success, and
Yeah, I mean, I'm 19 months sober at this
Yeah.
point, and it's the one and only treatment I've been to. I'm trying to name it out loud. It's the first and last treatment I'll ever be at. You know.
Yeah.
but I think it's the component, that faith-based component,
Absolutely.
is what they
100%,
say, and like the studies bear out to show that
Yep.
a faith-based component, not necessarily Christianity or not necessarily whatever your religion that you were drawn to, but to have a faith-based component is what makes the success rate so much higher.
Yeah, because I couldn't do it on my own.
Yeah.
Now I believe in something outside of myself. I'm doing it for. I couldn't live on myself. Now I'm living for God.
Yeah.
Now I'm living for His people. Now and it changes everything because I couldn't do it. I didn't have the self-worth in myself to do it enough or
Yeah.
to break that down. Now it doesn't matter what I think of myself.
Yeah.
I know what God thinks of me, and that's all that matters.
Right, and it's like that, that big thing. It's like my best thinking got me in treatment.
Yeah.
So if I'm gonna rely on myself, then I'm gonna screw it up and go back into treatment because that's where my best thinking literally got me.
Right.
So literally, it's like I need something bigger than myself. If there's nothing bigger than, and I think about this too. This is a big thought in my mind. If there's literally nothing bigger than me, and there's nothing after this, I might as well just go get high again. I mean, what's the point?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I might as
Yeah.
well just go live for the moment and live in instant
Yeah.
gratification for the rest of my life.
Yep.
Because I mean, if I just die and it's just black and there's nothing and I'm not going to remember it, then who cares?
Yeah.
And so for me, it literally is the hope to go on.
Wow.
And to stay sober.
I think that's what makes it work, because I think if you look at like what's the different, I guess I've been thinking about this, but trying to be present and listen to the stories, but track this because I really want to know. There are plenty of kids that move around, like in military families.
Yeah, that's huge.
There's a prison full of moms, right? I mean, that's why they have it. There are unique stories. Moms work for City Financial or wherever.
Right.
Like move around. If I got a new job and I had to move to Chicago, I have a 6th grader and I'm thinking he's 11. And you're like, when I was 12, I moved around.
Yeah.
So was there something in particular in the makeup or things that happened that were specific, or just like that happened to you guys specifically? Because there are plenty of people that move around and do that stuff, and they don't, they don't become addicted to drugs or alcohol or have these destructive behaviors.
Sure.
So is it something specific to you guys? Because I don't want to be afraid to move someplace because I'm, like my 12-year-old's gonna go down a path.
Right. Go down and have
You know what I'm
them
saying?
listen to the
Like if
story,
I get
sure.
like my dream job gets offered to me and I need to move to, like Philadelphia. I'm just saying, maybe it's in Philly. I don't know.
Sure.
Elbow
Maybe-
Lake.
Yeah, Elbow Lake.
Maybe it's in,
Lord,
I'll get the
let it
Barrett
not be.
welcome.
Yeah.
So like I can't move now because my 12-year-old is going to have an identity crisis. Or so like
Sure,
what
yeah.
so like what was it?
For me, I wouldn't say that because it's perfectly fine to move.
Yeah.
But for me, I didn't have a positive role model or someone to
Yeah.
sit down like, this is why we're moving. We're doing this, or someone to talk to about my feelings. Well, I don't
Yeah.
have any friends. I don't have this, and they taught me the only thing they know how to do was to get high, get drunk, and find an escape instead of dealing with life's problems. So I had a whole family of people that I could run with instead of stand and fight with.
Yeah.
And that's what did it for me because it's like, all right, well, I got to do this alone, and I'm like 8. Like,
Yeah.
I might as well just do what they're doing and forget about it,
Yeah.
So that was for me,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like to start this answer off is the idea that you could have twins born in the same household under the same circumstances and everything is the same, and one goes to be a doctor
Yep.
and the other one goes and becomes a drug addict. So
Yeah.
to start off, I mean, part of it is just, dude, it's just like circumstantial. I don't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like-
the one got just
Yeah.
mixing with the wrong crowd at school, which you can't, you may not have
Yeah.
an opportunity to tackle on, right? And so that there's always that component. But when I look back at it, it wasn't like specifically, oh, my mom moved a few times and I became a drug addict. Like there were so many different
Just
pieces.
building up to it.
I mean, it was just like parents divorced. So right away I had a split life. My dad became a Christian and my mom was kind of into more like the new time spirituality, right? That kind of stuff. So now my faith base was already split and I had no idea what to believe because, I mean, it's your mom and your dad. You want to trust them both. So when they're both saying, no, this is real, no, this is right, no, this is, so how do you know what I mean?
It's like whatever's real to you.
So
It's
you
like,
see, you juggle that because those are your first influencers. On top of that, plus the bowling, right? And then you also like the majority of my year would be with my mom, who
Yep.
worked so much to provide for 4 kids.
and then you
right?
bounce.
Right, and then on top of that, there was guys that came in and out and that kind of stuff throughout the life as well. And so it's just like all these pieces were playing a role,
Yep.
right? So I don't, for me, I wouldn't say it's just like that one piece did it, But especially I think one of the, and this is why I just stand by now with my personal belief is that the faith aspect, man. I had no foundation, and I think a good foundation spiritually sets up a good foundation mentally and for everything else. And for me, I didn't have a foundation. So when I told you I had standards, I'm not going to do drugs and stuff. There was no foundation. So it was easy and it was rickety rockety.
It's like I'm going to be a
Fell
Navy
over.
SEAL, and then this is going to blah blah blah, and you were like, no,
But I want acceptance.
yeah,
you
maybe
know?
it's negotiable. I'll set this aside to get this because it makes me feel better.
Right. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden you have truth and foundation to set it on.
Yeah.
Yeah. You come, no. You know
And
what?
something-
Screw you guys. I don't even want to hang out with you guys anymore.
Yeah.
And you just go and do your thing. You know?
And you get to live for something more than just yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man.
Isn't that
plan.
incredible about how faith is though? It's like there's little tiny. What did Angie call them? Another one of our guests. She called them faith nuggets or whatever.
I don't know.
I can't remember. It's like
I just think that's a horrible phrase.
Nuggets of
Angie-
wisdom?
No, it was
Faith
it was just-
nuggets.
no, it was. I can't remember what it was.
Welcome to Chick-fil-A. I'd like an order of your faith nuggets.
Hey, it's true. They are a Christian establishment too.
They are. Dude. I know.
That's
I'm serious. That's it. Chick-fil-A, get at me.
We're gonna send them an email.
Faith
From the
nuggets.
golden rolled up. in heaven.
Exactly. Yep. All these
forgot
chickens
where
are
I was gonna go with
baptized. Sorry.
But like it's interesting. Like you have someone that'll say like, "How can you believe God exists?" And then like there'll be times like you're watching a sunset or something like just something. You might see a bunch of them or whatever, but it's like all of a sudden you're just looking at something, or I'm watching my kids run around. It's like, how could you not believe that there's more to just like something happened, some chemical reaction, and now we're all just here and then we die.
Right.
Like there's so much more to this, and you see all of
I don't
this.
think we understand it.
No, we
You know,
don't
and we-
necessarily.
Never.
But the point
It's
is,
too big.
it's like there's got to be something more to it than just like you said, living for the moment, and you die, it's black, and it's over.
There's this big thing out there, right? It's called like the pocket watch theory, right? So you're walking through a forest and you see a pocket watch on the ground, right? You pick it up, you're looking at it. Do you come to the conclusion that this forest made this pocket watch? This super intricate metal piece that's all designed and what, like, do you just come up to this conclusion like, oh yeah, the forest made this, and set it back down and keep going? You know? Like that's when you think
know.
about it in some sense, you know? It's like,
I think like somewhere an old man that doesn't know what time it is. You know,
he's old because
like,
and you know he's old because he's lost in a forest somewhere.
right? He's lost in a forest. He has no pocket watch. He's like, Siri, where's my pocket watch?
You know,
You know what I mean? You
Yeah,
know
no,
what I mean.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. I do. I'm just saying. I think it's
So like, what's now your relatively recent graduates?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
And we had talked a little bit about the college, hopefully, admissions.
Hopefully not prank.
Not prank.
It's not a prank, Rolando. It's not a prank.
oh man.
So my question is, so what's next for you guys? You talked about going and talking with kids, and now that you've been where you're at, or you've been where you came from, and you made some choices that got you to a certain place, and now I've gone through the faith-based long-term rehabilitation program at Teen Challenge, and like what's life look like for you guys now moving forward?
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah. I always like to say that you can see a horizon, but in between you and that horizon's a city. And you don't know what's in the middle of that city until you get there, and you have to start experiencing it. So I would say, looking at the horizon, though, I would love to. And what's crazy is that I remember in the beginning of the program, I went to, the choir. You were talking about the choir, right? So I'm at this church. This dude pulls me aside. He's a complete nut job. I love it, right? And he's just, I know, I love those people. And so he goes, I have this vision for you. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be great, right? And he was talking about how I'm going to be working with youth one day, right? It's like, I'm like a month and a half sober, right? Just freshly met God, right? And so it's cool to see already how that's starting. But, my ultimate goal, I would love to open up a nonprofit where it's taking kids in and teaching them how to be Christ-like leaders with characteristics just like that, right? Being a servant leader, just that like honesty, right? And that purity, and then give them literally the algorithm on discipling people their own age, right? Yeah. And that's it. I could, why have it so that I have to go teach everybody when I can just go do what exactly Jesus did, teach 12, who then taught like 70 something, and then
The rest of the planet,
and then the rest of right.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean, right?
That's the whole like give a man a fish, teach a man a fish.
Right. And I would
excuse me, teach a person to fish, teach
Right.
give a person a
You're being
fish.
offensive again.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be
goodness.
offensive.
Come on, it's our generation.
Sorry.
But seriously, like that would be like literally. I see that in my future. I speak it up into existence. If that's where God takes it, so be it. If He doesn't, whatever. But I'll probably be working with youth for the rest of my life. I love it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
For me, I have no idea. I mean, I know that I want to be of service and go back and help all the people that were in the same situations as me, that where they're blind to certain things in life, and they don't have no one to be like, okay, well, he made it out and did something different. I want to go back and help as many people as I can, whatever that looks like. But until then, God obviously has me on a mission to go to school and to learn as much as I can. And like, there's been, I don't even know how many signs. It's like, okay, well, apparently I'm supposed to be going to school to learn something, but I want to find my place in law when it comes to the laws being, changed. Like there's Teen Challenge is part of they got Second Chance Coalition. We're helping people with records get better jobs and stuff like that. Like I want to be a part of that as much as I can. And I feel like the best way to do that and more effective as I can is to get as successful as I can in whatever I choose to do. Not as successful like in terms of money, but okay, well, I got sober, I got my mental health side together, I went to school, I got, I did this and that. Now I want to help people that can do it so it's not as hard as it is for me right now. Yeah. Because it's hard. I've been having to jump through a lot of hoops, but God's been opening those doors.
Yeah.
So it's
The Second Chance stuff is really, was really lagging. I mean, it's so far behind with, I think, what we're trying to modernize our society and getting people housing, jobs, applying to schools, getting loans for cars, or because they have this tail is a mile long. Yeah. So like the whole ban the box initiative was a big deal. Yeah. In particular for felons or drug offenders, it just seems like the penalties are into perpetuity. You know, it's like there's no such thing as a 1-year sentence. Everything is a life sentence.
Yeah.
Like the internet is plaguing people.
Yeah.
You can't expunge the internet.
Man, that's a whole nother podcast.
It's podcast, right?
On the internet, and
Seriously.
how it's affecting youth. And,
Yeah,
and
we
yes,
could go there
oh
and
my
do that
gosh.
stuff too, man. I think it's
Holy moly.
You know, so that ban the box thing they had,
Yeah.
that was actually a Teen Challenge graduate named Gina Evans that got that removed from doing exactly like what I'm trying to do
Yeah.
now.
Really?
She
Yeah.
got out. She was struggling with getting her kids and stuff like that back. She went and fought with the state on Capitol Hill, and because of her not giving up and
Yeah.
being persistent and God's strength and will all with her,
Yeah.
like she's the one who got that removed.
Really?
It took
So
a,
it's
it,
huge.
it took a long time, took
Yeah.
too long.
Yeah.
But like we worked on that initiative at the Bar Association, and it finally happened.
No, so
And so
cool.
basically, you're disqualifying yourself for a job, like right out of the gate. Basically,
Yeah.
just check this box. Basically, are you a felon? Do you have check? All right, you're not getting hired. Boop,
You know,
boop over there.
Right.
Seriously. So it's like without even meeting the person, without having like all these reports and stats came back.
and it does something to your mentality too. It's like, all right, well, I guess I gotta be an outlaw.
Screw it.
You know, for
Right.
me personally, it's like, I guess I gotta do sketchy stuff, or I gotta do this or that, and you get to accept it. It's like, all right, well, I have to
Yeah.
believe in something. You know, I'll believe in myself that I can be a criminal forever, and I'll be
Right.
all right. And it's
Right, and it's so cool because I mean, even for me, you know, it's like you just don't break into an airport and not become a felon, you know. So there's always
Right.
that. So I still
Yeah.
deal with that stuff, you
Yeah.
know, and it's man, like, but you don't know that stuff until you actually get to sit down and meet somebody and go like, yeah, you may have all these, you know, this is your record, but is this who you are?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and sure, yeah, at one point it was me, but that was post meeting God, building a faith, finding identity, right, and giving myself up for something bigger than myself, you know, and so, yeah, man, it's cool how what direction that we're going with all this.
Well, I think that's, I mean, you know, to have a path out there, or you know, to be able to see it, you know, see the horizon. Something else that I know I had to set down, like just in my day to day. I remember getting married, like the day of my marriage, like an hour afterwards. What's the first question you get?
You gonna have any kids?
Thank you.
Oh,
yeah.
So when are you guys gonna have kids? You guys gonna have any kids? How many kids you gonna have?
Married for an hour.
I'm like, I just got married like an hour ago.
still standing at the altar.
Right, I got married an hour ago, right? You know, so people like will
all
dump.
of you would go home. I'm gonna go work at it.
Right, right. You know, it's like I don't know. Okay,
Once
like,
I get to Hawaii.
I just got married an hour ago.
Yeah.
Back off. Let me enjoy this moment, or maybe just tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, eventually, but you know, we're not gonna have kids tomorrow. Okay, yeah. Well, you guys gonna buy a new house? You know, like, just be here.
Yeah.
Can we just be
yeah,
here?
amen.
You know, and just take it like one day at a time. Just period. Because that's, you know, life happens only one day at a time, don't you know?
Don't you know?
Don't you know?
Don't you know?
You
Yes,
know.
no. Oh, yeah.
Right.
I mean, sorry, Minnesota lingo.
Oh, yeah.
So it's,
Yep.
you know, I'm like, come on, man. So I always hate that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, how are you going to save the planet? And I'm like, I don't know.
Everybody
I'll
wants
figure
to
it
add
out.
commas on things. Just put
Right.
a period here once in a
Right.
while. Just,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the eternal now, right? Simply, it's just in this moment.
It's hard. but-
It is.
Anyway, I got to run, man.
I got a couple of. You
Yeah.
can see if you got to head out. That's fine.
I'm going to go.
I can clamp it down. So, a couple of things.
Here, I want to show you that. So that's not a joke right there.
See?
That's the picture.
Sweet.
I know, I told you, man.
It could still be a sick joke. I hope it's not like that's.
Your future is
See, and they just give me just enough. to sketch out, you know?
Your
Future is over.
future is on hold for a little bit longer.
Yeah,
while
a
we
little bit
continue
longer.
to process this
That is
application.
super cool. A couple things, then we'll finish up. Is one, so like how does someone, if someone's listening to this and they're thinking I need to make a change in their life and wonder if Teen Challenge is for them, how do they go about actually doing that?
612 freedom.
612 freedom. Hope has an address.
612 freedom. That's the number. You can
Okay.
call them, and the people that run the phones, work in administration, a lot of them are graduates, and they have the patience, they have the knowledge, the wisdom, the understanding of the situation, and they walk you through the whole process.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
They
cool.
got the information.
Yeah, they
You just gotta
definitely
show up.
Okay.
And there's always a bed open.
Wow.
You know,
That's
it's
so
like
cool.
what's the old Motel 8 commercials? Like, we'll even leave the light on for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
What's that guy's name? He says his name in it. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
So
But-
speaking of that, though, if people have a need, also know the truth. What we work for as part of the prevention program. If there's even needs for schools or like we did a Boy Scouts or any type of youth groups, we're available for that. You know, so know the truth.
cool.
It's super powerful to reach the youth at a young age,
Yep.
and just give them some type of message to give them something to think about. You know,
That's our future leaders right there.
Yeah, because like for the DARE program for us, I'm not knocking the DARE program. I shouldn't have said that. But like, you know, back in the day, for me, it was a joke.
No, it wasn't.
He said, "I got it." It was a joke.
Here's the thing, Rolando.
Yeah, right. So
Actually, we're going to break this to you live on the podcast.
Let me get this on camera.
Okay, here, Wade found something.
Oh, there's a thing here.
What do you-
guys.
The thing.
Yeah, what do we do?
I think your future is bold at North Central.
Oh, okay.
I bet that's what it is.
Your
future
future
is bold.
is
Your
bold.
future is bold at North Central.
I bet that's what it says.
I bet that's what it is. So there you go.
Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge, 612 Freedom, and then what is it?
Know the truth.
Know the
Tell
truth.
Yeah.
You guys have been awesome. It's been very good to get to know you. Thank you so much for being so I don't know if the right word is vulnerable, but just being
Candid,
out there.
honest,
There you go.
kind,
Thank you.
fun.
This is
vulnerable.
what happens when you go to law school. You get a lot of words in your brain. You do a good job with that. So,
Or you read books.
I back my pickup up into the parking lot. I don't read a lot.
I usually do, but
You didn't this time.
I didn't this time.
Yeah, because you read too many books.
yeah, 'cause I read too many books.
But thank you so much for
Yeah, thanks.
for talking and coming down and spending the time. I
Yeah.
know it's a little bit of time on the road, and there's construction everywhere in Minnesota right now, so that gets a little bit annoying.
you got
with
a
all
great
the detours,
playlist.
but
Yeah,
I
right.
really appreciate it, and thanks for sharing the message. So we also want to say thank you to Bolton and Mink Studios and Bolton and Mink for sponsoring the podcast today.
That was so nice. Thank you, Bolton
Super
Meg.
great. We got the stickers, so you guys can put one of those somewhere. I don't know where, but you can put it somewhere.
Go put it in the office.
Yeah, put it in the office. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for doing that, and we will see everybody next time.
If you ever want to do one virtually, let us know.
Yeah,
Just make the call. We'll be.
Yeah.
We could do a Zoom thing too if you want to for fun.
that'd be fun.
Yeah, but
Anyway.
they pay us to be on the road too. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha. All right. I see you working, player. I got you. All right.
All right, we're gonna cut now. Bye, everybody.
See you guys. Bye, everybody.